Did you know there was once a kid in Ohio who looked like he was born to be a champion? His name was Maurice Clarett. And in 2002, he wasn't just playing football at Ohio State. He was changing the whole game. Freshman year, one of the youngest on the team. But he carried himself like he was already a legend. He ran through defenders like they were paper. Every time he touched the ball, the crowd held their breath. He didn't just score touchdowns. He made it look easy. That year, he helped Ohio State go undefeated, all the way to the national championship. And in that game, with the season on the line, Maurice made one of the most clutch plays in college football history. A strip after an interception ripped the ball right out of the defender's hands. It turned the game around. Ohio State won. The kid from Youngstown was on top of the world. But fame has a funny way of changing everything. People wanted a piece of him. Agents, boosters, reporters, everybody telling him what to do, how to live. And Maurice, he was just 19. He liked the attention. He liked the money. Rules? Rules felt like something for other people. Soon he got into trouble. He filed a lawsuit to enter the NFL early and won at first. But the decision got overturned. So instead of playing pro, he was stuck. No football, no spotlight, just waiting. And in that silence, bad choices started piling up. He began running with the wrong crowd. Fast cars, parties, people who didn't care about him, just what he could bring. By the time he finally made it to the NFL draft in 2005, his name was already toxic. Still, the Denver Broncos took a chance. Third-round pick. But Maurice wasn't the same player. Out of shape. Distracted. He didn't play a single snap. Cut before the season even started. Then it got worse. In 2006, police pulled him over. And what they found? An open bottle of vodka. 4 loaded guns. A bulletproof vest. It wasn't just a traffic stop. It was like something out of a movie. Maurice was arrested. Later, he pled guilty to aggravated robbery and carrying a concealed weapon. The judge gave him 7.5 years, just like that. The kid who once stood on top of the football world was in a cell. Prison is the place where a lot of dreams go to die. But for Maurice, it became something else. The first year was hell. No cameras, no cheering crowds, just walls, bars. And the sound of that door locking behind you every night. He had time to think. Too much time. He thought about all the people he let down. His coaches, his teammates, his family, and himself. But somewhere in that darkness, he started to change. He began reading. Books on business, books on the mind, books on discipline. He started working out again. Not because there was a game coming, but because he needed to feel alive. In prison, he became known for 2 things: his focus and his words. Other inmates started coming to him for advice, and he gave it. Not because he thought it made him a leader, but because it kept him human. By 2010, he had served almost 4 years. Then came the news. He was getting out early, on parole. The world had moved on. Nobody was talking about Maurice Clarett anymore. But he wasn't done. Not even close. The first thing he did was start speaking to young athletes, telling them what fame can do if you're not ready, how fast it can all disappear. And people listened. Because he wasn't speaking from theory. He'd lived it. But deep down, he still had one question. Could he ever get back to the game? The game that made him. The game that almost destroyed him. And that's when the second chapter of his story began. When Maurice walked out of those prison gates, the air felt different. Freedom wasn't quiet. It was loud, almost deafening. The wind on his face felt like it hadn't touched him in years. Every sound was sharper. Every color brighter. But the world? The world didn't care he was back. The NFL wasn't calling. The headlines were gone. And the people who did recognize him, they didn't see a football star. They saw the mugshot. He could have disappeared. Could have blended into the long list of what could have been. But Maurice, he refused to let the last chapter be written by his mistakes. So he started small. Tiny crowds in high school gyms. Back rooms of community centers. Talking to kids who were just like him at 17. Hungry, fearless, but blind to how fast it could all vanish. He told them about the roar of the crowd and the silence of a cell. About the thrill of victory and the cold metal of handcuffs. Some kids leaned in. Some laughed, thinking it couldn't happen to them. Maurice knew that look. because he wore it once too. Still, the fire in him didn't go away. Football was in his blood, the sweat, the grind, the smell of the field. It haunted him. So, in 2010, he made a decision that people called crazy. He started training again. Not casual, not just staying in shape. Real, brutal, 2-a-day workouts. Morning runs before the sun came up. Weight sessions until his arms burned. Film study like he was about to face the national championship again. And then came the call, not from the NFL, but from the Omaha Nighthawks in the United Football League. It wasn't the big stage. The stadiums were smaller, the cameras fewer, the paycheck smaller. But the moment he put on that helmet, laced up those cleats, and stepped on the grass, it felt like home. He wasn't chasing fame anymore. He was chasing the game itself. That first hit, that first carry, it was like breathing again after years underwater. But Maurice knew this comeback wasn't forever. He wasn't 19 anymore. The window for a pro career was closing. So while he played, he planned. He started reading more, studying business, meeting with people who could teach him how to build something that would last. Because the truth, he didn't just want to win games, he wanted to win his life back. Soon, Maurice launched a business, then another. He opened the Red Zone, a mental health and wellness center in Ohio, not just for athletes, but for anyone fighting battles in their mind. He knew the signs of a man drowning, because he'd been there. He hired staff, brought in counselors, made it a safe place for people who didn't feel safe anywhere else. The speaking invitations started coming faster. High schools, colleges, even NFL teams brought him in to talk to rookies. Not about running plays, but about running their lives. He told them how one mistake can cost everything, how the wrong crowd can drag you down faster than you can imagine, and how discipline, real discipline, can be the difference between a mansion and a cell. People started seeing him differently, not as a cautionary tale, but as proof you can come back from anything. Podcasts called, news stations called, companies called. His name started meaning something new. It wasn't the guy who threw it all away anymore. It was the man who got it all back, in a different way. But here's the part most people don't see. The real twist. Maurice didn't just rebuild his career. He rebuilt himself. He found peace. Back then, he thought success was about trophies and contracts. Now, it's about impact. Helping someone else win their fight before they lose everything. The kid from Youngstown had grown into a man who understood that the scoreboard that matters isn't the one in a stadium, it's the one in life. When Maurice walks into a room now, people don't see the mugshot anymore. They see a survivor. They see someone who fell from the top and climbed back higher than before. His end zone? It's every life he changes before the clock runs out. And the craziest part? If you ask him today if he'd erase the mistakes, he'll say no. Because those mistakes made the man who's standing here now. A man who knows that sometimes losing everything is the first step to getting it all.